This is interesting, and I did want to talk about this because I'm not sure if we've shit talked on Mehdi a ton on the show, but I was definitely extremely disappointed when he moved from The Intercept to MSNBC. But I'd also been extremely disappointed with the way that he'd been kind of, I don't want to say performing, but like I just wasn't that happy with the content that he was creating while he was at The Intercept for a while. No, we don't hate Bernie. We fucking love Bernie, but we have been critical for him at times. That's why I was just pointing that out for whoever's in the comment section. But anyway, as far as Mehdi goes, he seemed to have his mind kind of like rocked by the whole Trump phenomenon. He started like trying to like glamorize Bush, and he kind of like started doing a lot of weird stuff that I wasn't that into. And he kind of got behind Biden too enthusiastically for me. But we saw him move to Peacock, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Mehdi's just going to go over there and cash out and be a complete stenographer to power and all this shit. And to my surprise, and also I was happy to say, to see at least, he's provided a decent amount of pushback, by far the most I've ever seen from a modern host on MSNBC. Yeah. I guess Peacock is NBC. I don't know what the fuck technically it is.
Well, I think MSNBC and NBC are related. So, I mean, at this point, everything is basically just like 5 corporations anyway. So what does it matter? But yeah, this is Peacock, which I think is like the MSNBC adjacent streaming service or something. So, this was a surprisingly good answer from Mehdi. Again, not that he's definitely better than your average liberal on TV. There's no doubt about that. Again, it's more just been a little bit disappointing to see some of the statements he's made, especially in regards to taking part in the rehabilitation of George Bush's legacy and playing into that notion or mindset that, Trump is so bad that now we have to venerate war criminal George Bush and war criminals in general. They're all on MSNBC now, speaking of the platform. So yeah, again, it's not that he's like uniquely terrible or anything. It's just that he did have some really bad takes. And this is
quick shout out to Kamali. Also, I saw you were in the comment section. What's up, dude? We'll get you back.
Oh, hey, what's up, man? What's up, brother? I hope you're doing well, and we'd love to do another live stream with you soon. So, appreciate the comment, dude. Anyway, this was a pretty good response from Mehdi, and I saw some people on Twitter pointing out that despite the fact that people, especially on the left, they find it very sus, and myself included, being platformed by MSNBC, automatically you're thinking, why would you ever want to be platformed by MSNBC? Why would you want to self-censor? Why would you not want to speak truth to the oligarchs and, try to advocate for communism or whatever the fuck? But there is some value to having people on these platforms that are, leftist, or that have the ability to articulate positions like Medicare for all and educate people and convince them as to the attributes of a universal healthcare, for example. So again, I wouldn't personally feel comfortable being on an MSNBC show just because I knew I would have to self-censor. But I don't necessarily begrudge someone who does want to go on MSNBC to make leftist points, because without that, then it really is just going to be a deluge of pro-corporate propaganda. So at least, breaking up the monotony is a good thing. And maybe, some boomer out there that doesn't know the truth about Medicare for all, and that's been pickling their mind with Rachel Maddow for the last 10 years and doesn't have access to YouTube because they don't know how to type in a URL. Maybe it's a good thing for that person to hear Mehdi Hassan defend universal healthcare.
I think unquestionably it's a good thing for him, right? And obviously you and I would never want to be in the position where you are in the back of your mind thinking about how you're going to have to pacify yourself, or the fact that you can't hammer down on a person when they come and are giving you a line of bullshit, they'll dodge your question twice and then you kind of have to let them go. That's kind of the etiquette on cable news, whereas on a podcast, if somebody's fucking not answering our question, we're gonna just keep asking it to them in a different way until they fucking acknowledge it, and then finally be like, dude, just answer my question, or why did you come on this podcast? You know what I mean? So I think it's very valuable to have somebody like Mehdi, who is very good at arguing, right? He's a great orator, I think, and that's why I liked when he was having good discussions on his show Deconstructed, which is now hosted by Ryan Grimm. I thought that he did a damn good job being a podcast host. And I would listen to him, and he did a damn good job. It was a 30-minute podcast, which I always thought was weird. I was like, dude, make it an hour, but you know what I mean? I liked it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no doubt about it that his voice is beautiful and wonderful to listen to. I would happily listen to Mehdi Hassan narrate an audiobook, for example, or anything of that nature. So certainly the kind of voice you want to hear making these points. But
yeah, we can play the clip.
Yeah.
Questionable things. I want to talk about one of those. Today's the 11th anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. As you say, the rescue plan expands subsidies for ACA plans, making premiums much cheaper for many families. That's a good thing. But it could also spend an estimated $35 billion fully covering COBRA for around 2 million unemployed people for just 6 months. How is that a good use of that money? $35 billion subsidizing insurance companies for 6 months. Wouldn't that money be better invested towards building universal health care in this country?
Well, clearly you have health insurance right now. But the question is, you ought to pose that to people who have lost their job through no fault of their own, that has lost their health insurance and they need a bridge so that they stay with insurance, so that they can get that checkup and detect cancer early. It's very easy for people to make judgment calls when they're not in other people's shoes, and I won't do that. I won't put a price on lives. I won't put a price on...
Hold on.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Hold on, with respect.
Hold on, wait.
Okay.
No, but I'm not going to put a price tag on a woman finding out that she has early stages of breast cancer so that we can beat it. I mean, look, did we rise to the moment? Yes. Did we spend $1.9 trillion? We did. You know why? Because there was $1.9 trillion worth of problems in this country that we were trying to fix.
Yes. So, with respect, I just need to push back a little bit. I'm in favor of you spending $1.9 trillion. I'd have gone higher. I'm very happy that you're spending lots of money. And as for the money on healthcare, it's not that I don't want you to spend $35 billion on healthcare. I'm in favor of universal healthcare. And when you say there's no price tag on healthcare, the problem is the president, Joe Biden, told us there is. He says we can't afford Medicare for all. I'm saying if you can afford $35 billion to give to COBRA, which is a very inefficient, overpriced way of giving people healthcare, why not spend that money on a universal healthcare system that helps everyone, not just insurance companies?
Well, remember, this is a response to a pandemic. If we didn't have COVID-19, you wouldn't see us doing that COBRA appropriation. So remember, we're probably saying close to the same thing, but remember, this is in response to people losing their jobs through no fault of their own. And if you don't have COVID-19 out there, people are not losing their jobs in record numbers through no fault of their own. And look,
fair point.
You mentioned what's coming next.
As you mentioned, it's a temporary...
What's crazy? See, it's like see, if this was a podcast, right? Like, we would be coming for that dude's fucking ass right now. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way out of that to be like, no, you're not. You're saying something completely different than we are. We're saying we should spend this money more efficiently so we can cover everybody. And you're saying, no, we're going to enrich a bunch of corporations and really ineffectively cover 2 million people for 6 months.
Yeah, like when you're debating someone, this is what you hope your opponent does. Like, like just open the door for you to utterly obliterate and expose their misunderstanding and ignorance about the situation, which they claim to be an authority on. And that's exactly what happened. Well, that's not exactly what happened because, Mehdi is polite and it's on MSNBC. But this guy did totally open the door to, being just completely exposing himself as an ignoramus on this subject. Again, responding to Mehdi's, question by saying, well, you must have health insurance. So that's why you're, and Mehdi's like, wait, what? I'm saying more people everyone should have health insurance, not just me. So it's pretty crazy. And again, Mehdi Hassan is someone who's actually had some pretty dumb and pretty bad takes, again, venerating the legacy of George Bush. So I haven't really been on this guy's side for a while. I kind of thought he was a tool, but I see a clip like this and I'm like, you can't deny that he's making a solid argument. He's probably changing some minds here, and that's a good thing. And again, I don't want to tear down someone who is, doing the work to further education about a policy as necessary as Medicare for all.
Yeah, and I think he does a great thing being on MSNBC because you're right. He plays the game in a way that I wouldn't. Like he said, he probably letting this guy go without hammering him to the fucking table and then obviously getting reprimanded by your boss and having that guy say fuck you, I'm never going on that show again, which is why they don't let you do that even though he deserves it. But you're right, because, you know, I've heard Mehdi Hassan being like, I would nationalize half the industries in this country overnight, like offhandedly in an interview when he was working for the Intercept. If he says that kind of shit on air at MSNBC and gets away with it, more fucking power to him, man. People need to know that that's an option, that's a line of thinking, that he's like, wait, we have a nationalized healthcare system in England, where I think he's from, right? He has a thick British accent. You know, he'd be like, works, you know, way better than it does for you guys here. And don't get me wrong, it has problems, and, you know, the British people would like to solve them. But, you know, this is some, you know, it kind of deals with that like fluke argument that everybody likes to throw up. It's like, I have the friend from Canada who had to come to America to get their shit taken care of, right? And it's like, okay, were they rich? They probably were rich. They definitely were. And then it's like, he made an amazing point the other day too, just to give him another. This is 2 in a row for Mehdi, so I want to give him a shout out. There was I can't remember who the Biden official was. It was somebody from the Biden administration was on his show, and he was hammering them about their policy towards MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia. And, you know, the guy's like, oh, it's been the long-standing policy of the United States not to impose sanctions on heads of state. And he's like, hold on, excuse me, hello, excuse me, hello. This is not, he's not a head of state, but he's not a head of state. He's not. And then the guy's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, but he's not a head of state. So he's, what you're saying is not making that. And then finally he lets the guy go again, weasel out. But so it's like, he's there to make you know, oh, this guy's a fucking fraud. But you just don't have the, like, you know, catching them all the way, because you have to play that bullshit with legacy media. But at the end of the day, you know, the more I think about it, like, that's a great home for a guy like Mehdi. If he can put up with that bullshit and get away with it, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the axe in like 6 months because he goes off on somebody. But he keeps acting like this, right? They're not going to let him stay around.
Yeah, we were joking around before the show about how, you know, he can't, as soon as he touches the MIC, then it's time. Your time's up, bro. You're done. Get out. That's what MSNBC is pretty famous for doing at this point. But again, you know, I don't begrudge him for going on a bigger platform to make those kind of points. So again, you know, regardless of my disagreements with Mehdi Hassan, of which I do have a lot, you know, I do think it's worth shouting out the fact that he defended Medicare for all in the way that not enough people do. He clearly, I mean, the people do, but you don't see enough on TV is what I'm trying to say. Again, just because those people aren't platformed in the first place, but it's good that he was able to break the monotony of corporate propaganda on MSNBC and actually speak some truth about our broken and corporatized, you know, for-profit healthcare system. Very necessary education, especially on a platform like MSNBC.